Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Here we are sitting 3 weeks out from Powerlifting America Nationals, and we are dead in the heat of the heaviest parts of training. So this week was a little bit different because I actually went to go see one of my good friends from back in high school over this past weekend, and it's set up for a scenario where I wasn't able to train on Saturday, which is usually the day where I do most of my heavy work and I have my longest training on that day. So we had to adapt and kind of adjust the week of training accordingly. And that's a great example of, things in life are going to come up with training. And of course, you can be rigid and not allow those things to affect training, but sometimes you just have to be flexible, and you can still have a good prep with some things coming up and some adjustments. So on day one, we had buffalo bar squats, and then I combined my day two bench press on this day one. So I did buffalo bar squats, pin press, and RDLs on this day, tempo RDLs, which I would normally have split up into 2 days. So overall, the buffalo bar squats were really fast and snappy. They were faster than the week before, even at a heavier weight. And that makes sense because if you remember, last week I was coming off of illness. I had gotten the flu basically for a couple days, so we had to take a step back. Then on the pin press, I actually decided to go ahead and lower the pins. The agreement that Bill and I have here is basically I'm trying to pin press from as low as I can, as close to my chest as I can without pain, because I had a bicep that was acting up and bothering me as it was getting stretched at the bottom of the bench press. So with these, I went ahead and lowered the bench, which lowered the pins to basically at my chest. And then I used 2 squat pads, as you can see on the pins, to give just a little extra. So I am hitting the pins here, and it's just above my chest, right? There's, less than a centimeter of space there, almost like I'm touching on a bench press, but not quite. And those felt really good. To still hit 415, 4 sets, basically touching my chest. Bench press is coming around. I just have to be patient with it, and we'll see where it ends up by the time Nationals gets here. And then I close the day with my tempo RDLs. I feel like I say this every week. I do not hit the full 5-second tempo for these sets of 8, but I did feel like I was getting a good stretch here, and I walk away from this session really fatigued in my posterior chain, but not by using a ton of weight. So interesting trade-off, and I think it is going to pay off, especially once you see how deadlifts moved here later in the week on the short turnaround. Now for day 2, since I did all of my compound movements on day 1, it essentially turned into an accessory day. So the main thing that I filmed were these dumbbell bench presses, and we're up to 115-pound dumbbells, which that's the heaviest dumbbell benching that I've done in a long time. And these are moving well, obviously really easy, but just getting that nice stretch and getting some work in with my chest and triceps. So that was the main highlight from day 2. And then this led me to where I did my day 4 on Thursday. So this is the day that would normally be on Saturday, but because of the abbreviated week, it was on Thursday. And I knew going in that this may end up being tricky because, last weekend I hit a 775-pound squat, which is a massive squat for me. And then to have just 5 days as a turnaround rather than a full week to hit my next heavy squat single was going to be a big ask. And throughout the week, I've had a lot of just low back fatigue and some sciatic discomfort a little bit. And by the time I got to the gym, it wasn't an issue at all, but standing in my classroom and just being on my feet, I can feel it constantly. So I was in my head a little bit as far as how this day was going to go. Now, to offset it, I've been upping my calories a little bit to try and make sure that I'm feeling good for these days. But you'll notice, even with the short turnaround, and the big takeaway here is, you could have less than ideal circumstances for training and still have training go really well. This is the fastest I've ever squatted over 700 pounds here, and this is 715, basically like a warm-up, right? We're not even approaching opener speed with that rep. So once I hit that rep, I was feeling very confident in myself, and then I jumped up to 760 pounds, which in the grand scheme of things, this is one of the heaviest squats I've ever done, other than my 783 squat in the Cayman Islands, and then the 2 times I've squatted 775. So to hit this here, you'll notice it's nice and smooth, no problems, and not to have to worry about spotters with a weight like this. I'm feeling very confident in my squat. And then we closed off the day. So I was prescribed, the number on the sheet was 792. I normally round down, so should have been 790. And I went with 785 just because of that little voice in my head saying to play it conservatively. Ultimately, I know 5 pounds isn't going to make that big of a difference. But because I had the short week and my back was feeling really fatigued, I wanted to play it safe, and you'll notice I absolutely crushed this, right? So there was plenty of room left, and I'm excited to see. We usually have one more heavy week 2 weeks out. I think it might be time to load up 800 pounds, and I feel like I am personally ready for that, especially after a short turnaround week with just 5 days. The benefit there is I'll get a long turnaround with basically 9 days between really heavy sessions after this one. So the extra rest should put me in a perfect position for a huge squat on this final heavy training day. And then my back downs were with 715. You'll notice this first rep absolutely flies. And I almost surprised myself and rushed the second rep, and it ends up being really slow. I just got slightly out of position, and it was kind of wonky. So not super happy with that set, but overall feeling pretty good. Bench press, we had Spoto press, it was just a 2-day turnaround from those pin presses that I had talked about. And here I'm feeling pretty strong overall. I could definitely touch my chest, and 445 is moving much faster than an opener. But I did, and I think this was a product of me getting tired because this was after a day's work. My right pec did cramp pretty badly, like mid-set on not the one that I filmed, one of my sets with 445. And I've never had that happen before. It just cramped really hard, and I still did the reps. I do not think it was a strain, like I hurt myself, but it was just extra sore, and I feel like I'm okay now. So that's fortunate. Then the last thing here, my heaviest deadlift of the week. So if you noticed on that 705, it actually slowed down considerably because I'm wearing the new SBD shorts. And I guess I had never noticed my longer basketball shorts normally catch the bar so it doesn't get stuck on my legs. But if you watch here, I just get stuck on my thighs so hard with that rep. And I definitely have a soft lockout. It was not a strength issue though. And that 745 moved faster than any of my deadlifts have lately, but it was just a friction thing. I hit my thighs. If I had baby powder, it would have definitely slid right up my legs and not been an issue. So even though I missed that rep technically, I am excited where deadlifts are going to go. So that'll do it for this week. Thank you all for watching. Please comment down below, like and subscribe if you haven't. And until next time, happy lifting.